Up next, we have an insightful session on the topic EOS landscape. To guide us through this fascinating subject, please join me in welcoming Mr. Aman Malhotra, Manager Actuarial Services at BADRI, to the stage. Let's give him a big round of applause.
Thank you, Tarun. Hello, everyone. Today, we are going to discuss the evolution of end-of-service landscape in UAE. So, first, we'll discuss on what are the current, basically, kind of products, the kind of schemes we have. We will be discussing on the need for retirement within the UAE market. And we'll also look at what are the different instruments for your retirement planning. So those who have joined just now, you can actually please log into the Menti and we can share the code. So the code, you can just log on to menti.com and use the code 47926163. So Shruti, can we get back to the presentation? Right. So first, let's talk about the potential of the EOS landscape or of the EOS products and the potential of the pension market in UAE. So we see about a working population of 7.6 million who are withdrawing average salaries ranging from 5,000 to 26,000 per month. This is the basic salary over which they can receive pensions or they can receive their gratuity. We see a total annual salary of 1.3 billion basic salary collected, of which a prospective fund of about 100 billion is what could be accumulated. This is the total market size within an year. Now, this contribution within an year is expected to increase every year given the increment in your salaries and given the influx of other nationals coming in UAE and more job opportunities being created and work opportunities being created in UAE for them. This data does not contain any contributions which are now allowed. The option is there for the self-employed. So this is only for the employed salaried people, salaried citizens data is there. So let's talk about the retirement landscape. So what we see right now is that the UAE is now emerging as a retirement hub. This is because of the tax advantages being offered, the visa program and the government, other initiatives by the government. It's a very safe and security place to work here. The quality of life is good. Advanced medical health system is being provided. So you see a lot of non-nationals being relocating even at the time of retirement in UAE because of these advantages. Now we should also then see the World Bank pension results as of 2023 and see the score of where UAE and KSA markets stand. Now, these are based on sustainability of the pension schemes, on the adequacy of the pension schemes, and these scores are also based on what kind of comfort members are getting from the pension scheme with respect to the regulations, with respect to the governance. We see the score are about, for UAE and KSA market, are nearly around 60. They come in the grade C and C plus respectively. So we see, yes, there's still a scope of improvement here. Okay, so if you could log on to Menti and please vote if you have done any retirement planning so far. Okay. So 63% of people have done a retirement planning, while we see a decent population who has not done any retirement planning so far, which actually gives us a window into the potential market size, which is actually huge. It's staggering considerably that the 37% has done no retirement planning at all. So let's discuss the need for retirement planning. So basically, there are limited pension provisions available. For the UAE nationals, we have Abu Dhabi pension scheme, we have a federal pension scheme where a defined benefit is provided to them. But for the non-nationals, there is a end of service gratuity scheme available. However, this may not be sufficient enough to sustain the Ben lifestyle or sustain or cope up with the increasing cost of inflation. Then there are change in employment dynamics. So you get a lot many people who are coming in UAE, but they are not a part of any employed or any salaried workforce. They are coming here as investors. They are coming here as individual freelance workers, maybe with a boom in the social media influencers. You see a lot of many such people which are exploring the market. They are not a part of any salary. They are not withdrawing any salary. They are not eligible for any gratuity. But still, they also need the retirement planning, which actually opens up or broadens the scope of such market. So we can see that inflation has increased by between 4% to 6%. We can see that, and on an average, this is a 5.5% over since 2020, which actually makes the end of service gratuity end of service gratuity, which is in line with the salary increase. And these two may not be directly related. Your salaries can vary for n number of purposes. And your gratuity will directly depend on that. Hence, it is possible that your gratuity may not be able to catch up to the increasing inflation. Secondly, there is also increase in life expectancy. So as we know that UAE has a good medical infrastructure, and we also see medical advancements in the medical industry, we see advancements on a daily basis. This has increased the life expectancy. So if you see this graph, we have life expectancy going from 40 to 80 for different regions and this is roughly between 75 to 80 now, and this is supposed to improve. This is expected to improve further in future. Again, this also increases the demand for retirement planning, the need for retirement planning. So let's talk about the existing defined benefit schemes we have. So we have end of service gratuity, which we discussed, which is basically a function of your last withdrawn salary. You get 21 days salary for anyone who has been employed for less than 5 years. Somebody who has been employed for more than 5 years get 30 days of their salary added to their gratuity. And end of service pension is basically a defined pension where a 2.5% of your average salary per year of employment is being paid as a monthly benefit. But these end of service pensions are only for the nationals. We have new defined contribution end of service schemes available. So these basically have both employer and employee contributions. Employer here contributes 5.83% of your monthly salary. This is similar to the previous level of 21 days over a 360 days year. And then for anyone who has more than 5 years, the employer contributes 8.33%, which is again similar to the 30 days over a 360 days year. Voluntary contributions are also allowed, so the employees now have flexibility towards how much they want to contribute towards their end of service benefits. Now, here, the catch here is that once this turns into a defined contribution scheme, the investment risk solely lies with the employee now. There are a multiple range of funds in which they can invest, which also offers capital guarantee funds so that the contributions are safe under such funds. However, these funds are still facing the risk of not catching up to the market, or also face the risk of any losses compared to different funds which outperform the market or inflation. So those risks again lies with the employees. So if you can log into Menti, let's see what are the different retirement investments you have invested in retirement instruments you have invested in. Okay. So land real estate wins the race here. Now, we'll talk about each one of them. Now, land or real estate investments, the per unit size is significant. You cannot purchase this in fractions or in units, smaller units, and it is very difficult in terms of maintenance relatively, and also it is expensive. Because of that, when you compare this to any end of service defined contribution retirement planning, you can see that you have the flexibility of having a liquid investment, investing in smaller units, investing as per your own choice when the funds are available, and not being bound into any particular investment plan which we see being offered by different developers. Next is a mixed investment portfolio, stocks and bonds. Now, though I do see that there is a mix of people who are well versed with these markets, with these instruments, but when we talk about the majority of market, they might not have the expertise or knowledge to basically take decision on where they should be investing this money, and that's why we see people who do not have such knowledge might be hesitant. Hence, when they get an option of a defined contribution where there are some expert fund managers who are guiding them towards contributing towards these funds, this basically allows them a big flexibility and also some security that their money is being well handled. Next, we have retirement plans, such as mutual funds or such as a unit-linked insurance plan. Now, these are very close to what a defined contribution plan, but they will be expensive. Given that when you are investing in mutual fund, you will be approaching them as an individual, and what kind of deal you get with the mutual fund or what kind of charges there are on a mutual fund might have a loading higher than what you would otherwise would have earned when your employer is going collectively with a group to get these charges for you. So that's why investing into a defined contribution would be beneficial. Similarly, you have unit-linked insurance plan, which also have additional loading for life insurance. Additional charges are being deducted. Now, if you do not require this, if you do not require that additional benefit, life insurance, because either your employer is providing or for any other reason, then you would not benefit as much as you would benefit from a defined contribution retirement scheme. Fourth one, a box full of gold and cash. Uh, I wish all of you best of luck for beating the inflation, especially for those with cash. For those with gold, the market is not directly correlated with inflation. So you could end up, there is a good chance that you end up with gold prices not rising at the same pace as inflation, or maybe volatile, while inflation we would see is overall increasing over the period. For those with other income, with very small percentages have trust funds or they have other incomes. Now for these, again, they are subject to different risks, operational risks. You have no control. If you are a silent partner and you don't have any control of what is happening, you are just on a daily basis, then your money is at risk. When you compare that to a end of service benefit, again, you don't have to invest huge money at once. You can do it in small fragments. You can do it when you have the money. You can always hold accountable your fund manager on what returns are being generated. So that flexibility is pretty much available in end of service benefit in the saving schemes or the defined contribution schemes. Okay. So yeah, so these are basically an overview of what different instruments are available. Right. So let's talk in detail a little about the dues and the savings scheme, which are the defined contribution initiatives taken by the UAE government. Now, dues is only for non-UAE national employees of DIFC, government and FZ authorities. This is a mandatory enrollment for all of these regions, while the end of service, alternative end of service benefit scheme or the saving scheme, this is a voluntary enrollment, and this is for all other regions except for the DIFC employees. These are very similar products with certain nuances of how they differ. So we'll talk about the similarities first. Now, under defined contribution, both allow employee contributions as well. Employee has a flexibility to how much they want to contribute, subject to certain limits. They have the same contribution amount of 5.83% of the monthly salary and 8.33% after you complete 5 years. The charges, the charges to the fund for managing the investments are basically varying based on which fund you opt for. You get the final benefit as 100% of the accumulated fund. So that is another similarity. So it's an employee's choice under both the scheme if they want to transfer their already accrued end of service gratuity to the defined contribution scheme. So this as an employee, you can choose to either go with the guaranteed defined benefit number, or you can also benefit from the market increases, and while if you intend to take the risk and transfer the already accrued benefit into your defined contribution scheme. Right. Now let's look at the differences. So as we discussed, enrollment in dues is mandatory, while under saving schemes, it's employer's choice if he wants to migrate to the scheme. He can also choose what set of employees he wants to migrate. He may not choose all of the employees to migrate. That option is also there. Voluntary contributions under dues are maximum to the 100% of the monthly salary. But it doesn't offer any lump sum contribution. They only have to be done through monthly salary only. Under the saving scheme, your contribution limit is 25% instead of 100%. However, you do also have an option of lump sum contributions, which are not subject to any limits. Then we have withdrawal. You can withdraw your voluntary contribution anytime you want, subject to the limit that it is twice an year. Under the due scheme, you can only withdraw up to 30% of your voluntary contribution pool. You cannot withdraw more than that at any point under each withdrawal. Then, if we talk about savings scheme, there are no set of defined terms and conditions by the government, but these will be defined by the fund manager you would choose. They will define the limits for the voluntary contribution. Under both, only the withdrawal of voluntary contribution by the employee is allowed. The employer contribution can only be withdrawn only at the end of service. Self-employed provision is not there under the dues, but the savings scheme is also available for the self-employed people through voluntary contribution mode. And then we have a default fund. So under dues, if you are not choosing any particular fund, the default investment goes into the lower moderate growth fund. However, in savings scheme, your default contributions are under the capital guarantee fund. Now let's see how does your defined contribution versus your end of service gratuity looks like. Now your salary, benefit salary used to calculate what contributions or what your benefit will be, your monthly salary in case of your defined contribution. So each month your basically benefit will grow in line with the growth of the fund, but in your existing end of service gratuity, your final salary, last withdrawn salary is being used. Now, here your benefit grows with the salary. So these two are very different in terms of the performance. Your fund may outperform your salary, may not outperform your salary. Your salary would also be subject to many conditions, many different conditions, whether a person is working full-time, part-time, have they switched to a part-time role, what are their health conditions, and how the company is performing, many other things. While your fund, when you invest in a fund, the performance of the fund will actually define what your end of service benefit looks like. Investment risk lies with the employee, as I mentioned earlier, under the defined contribution. However, in the end of service gratuity, it's the employer's responsibility to make sure adequate funds are available at the time people choose to exit. Next, we have your benefit. A lump sum benefit of total accumulated fund is provided in defined contribution. In existing end of service gratuity, you have a lump sum benefit, which is basically your service into your salary, with last withdrawn salary into the gratuity rate. Under the withdrawal, there is no option of withdrawing any money early in your end of service gratuity. And in your defined contribution, you have voluntary contribution which you can withdraw. In your end of service gratuity, there are no voluntary contributions, so there is no point of any withdrawal, no option of any withdrawal. Same with the charges. Your end of service gratuity doesn't have any charges, so there are no additional expenses or cost for the employee. But under defined contribution, the employee contributions are also subject to similar charges as the employer contribution, and they vary based on funds. So there is an additional cost to the risks being taken here. Now let's look at salary scale versus the IBOR, the Emirati interbank offer rate. So basically, historically, over the past 10 years, we see the rate to basically your salary scale is way higher up till 2022 based on your IBOR. Then we also have IBOR plus 2%, and your salary scale is relatively closer to that. But from 23 and 24, we can see that IBOR has outperformed the salary scale. And if we project based on similar scenarios in future, based on that, we can expect your salary scale to be lower than your IBOR rates. Next, if you could switch to Menti, I would like to ask, as an employer, what would you like to offer? What would you prefer offering to your employees, a defined benefit or a defined contribution scheme? Okay, so 68% so far have opted that they would want to basically transition into defined contribution scheme, so that as an employer you want your employees to be responsible for the risk, but that also comes with the clause that you have to start contributing immediately. Now, next, as an employee, what would you like to opt? Do you prefer a defined benefit or a defined contribution? Though the difference isn't much, but I see a contradicting result here. So basically, as an employee, we would prefer the employer to take the risk, though we are also, as an employee, taking a risk that our fund will only grow in line with our salary. But as an employer, we would not want to take the investment risk here. So this is a contradicting, but I still see that the difference is not much, and maybe hopefully in near future we would see more and more enrollments from the employer toward the defined contribution scheme, and also from employees, because as this scheme, these are fairly new schemes, as more data will be available on them, how the potential returns of people look like over a period of 3 years, 2 years, 5 years, a more encouragement will be within the market, a more comfort will be within the market to switch to a defined contribution. That's my time. Hope this was beneficial for you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aman, for that informative session.